And greetings, ladies and gentlemen. You are back. It's your boy, DJ Visit. So, McCarthyism of the day, of today, is the subject. And we do have a special guest that will be here momentarily. But before we get into that, let me show you this as we start. Before we wrap it on up with a bow on top, my boy, ABL. Appreciate you.
Tonight, new video from a protest outside the White House this week captures the tension that we've seen in some instances out there.
They don't care that we just have cardboard! Show you! What the is wrong with you? How the is stupid day?
People yelling and berating police officers lined up outside the White House. Joining me now, Brandon Tatum, former Tucson, Arizona police officer and the co-founder of the Blexit Foundation. Brandon, you said that you don't believe in taking a knee, which has become a very popular way to express solidarity with this movement.
Right. Body language.
Yeah, I don't believe in disrespecting the country. I don't believe in disrespecting my flag. I love America. America's been good to me. I understand that we've had some things in the past that have gone astray, but we corrected it. We're united. There is no more Jim Crow. There is no slavery. I think that if people will come together and focus on the things that we've been able to accomplish moving forward, we can be a more united country. But I will never, and I'll say that and I hope the world can hear me, I will never disrespect my flag. I will never disrespect my country.
I think when you see someone use what appears to be, and this case will be investigated, but in general, what appears to be more force than necessary to apprehend someone, to bring them in to the station, which is the primary motive at that point.
Yeah, I agree with the first officer that made the comment that it's a training issue. You have to evaluate every situation as an independent situation. If an officer did something that is wrong, that person should be held accountable. I think it has very minimal to do with racism. I think it has a lot to do with training. I like to see officers do better. I want to see them held accountable. Here's another thing that I think we should be talking about as well is how do you get in a position where an officer is using force against you? I think as a community, as a police community, we need to educate these young people and talk to them about not resisting arrest and not being put in a position where an officer has to use force on you. Deal with it in court. You can live to see another day. I'm glad that the gentleman didn't lose his life, but I'm holding police officers to the highest standard, and I hate to see police officers not do the best that they could do.
Exactly. Man, that's just self-explanatory, but we'll do this one. Brother man. But we are back. And I wanted to show you something specific also, so we can rehash some of the things that have not been rehashed. Let me just get this here.
He is one of the most out.
Yeah. Hope I can find this one. I don't think they're gonna like this video. I'm trying to find it, and if I can, I will.
Spoken critics of police use of force here in the valley, but he did something
Of course, stupid. This is perfect. This is perfect. Great. Great. This is perfect. Cool. This is this is perfect. All right. So we're gonna get into some things that we need to unhash. Let's go down this hole of rabbits. 1 second. And here we go.
Why don't you show us your hands? Let's see your hands. Show us your hands. Who are you? I can see hands in there, but can you just put us all at ease by putting your hands on the table?
How's that?
How about both of them?
How about no?
How about you put both your hands on the table for me?
How about you leave?
Put your other hand on the table for us.
I'm telling you now, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill everyone in this room, including myself.
So why don't you put your other hand on the table? No, put your other hand on the table.
I'm telling you, it's time to leave.
What would you do? Shoot or not shoot? Sean is mentally ill, suicidal. His wife wants you to save him.
There's a gun.
Now.
There's a gun. He's got a gun. Listen. Place your hands on top of your head.
Listen to my partner. Place your hands on top of your head. We only want to help you. That's all we want to do. We don't want anyone to get hurt today.
Help.
There is help, Sean. I promise you.
There's absolutely nothing you can do but leave.
Come on. You gotta put your hands on top of your head.
Now.
You don't want to.
Leave. No, what's the problem? Why are you not responding to me?
Carol, we got to get this guy.
You want me to respond?
He killed you.
Okay,
You're done. You're
dead.
If this were a real emergency, I'd have died. I didn't want to shoot
more than
him.
one. Boom, boom.
Even when he had the gun on the table, I didn't believe he would shoot me.
Of course.
Right? But he did.
Right.
So that was because I'm not used to dealing in those situations.
First off, he wasn't showing you his hands. That's a problem.
Gave me a false sense of security because by then I had my own gun out.
Right.
When I saw his gun, and I thought, well,
too late.
He's not going to shoot me because I have my gun out.
Right.
That means
So as soon as he put the gun on the table, I could have shot him.
Sure, because action beats reaction all the time.
If he presents the threat to you, then you have the right to use deadly force, not just to protect your life, but to protect your partner or anybody else. Because if he shoots you both, he can then go out and be a deadly, imminent danger to the public.
All right, I want to bring in former Navy SEAL and FBI Special Agent and my trainer, Jonathan Gilliam. And first of all, thanks for taking me through that because I learned a lot, frankly.
I think you're a very brave individual to
Next spring we what's going on? All right. So let's do this one. As long as you can, no problem, no worries. 11 o'clock now, 11:02. What's going on? Anybody else who's in here? What's going on? Do. Come and join if you want. If you don't want to right now, that is all right with me. All right with me. Got so much going through my mind, like it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Hold that thought, my brain. Don't even say it. Don't even say it yet. Because don't even say it yet, my brother. I just want to tell black people, our people, my people, some people, a few things. And this is one of them. Black shout out to you, boy. Boy. Gotcha. Hey.
How's it going, DJ?
Gotcha. Oh, this way. Hey.
How's it going, DJ?
There you go, man. Oh, this way. It was an echo. I don't hear you now. There you go. There you go.
Okay, how's it now?
Perfect.
I've got the earplugs going. Oh my gosh, there's just such crazy stuff going on.
Exactly. CDJ.
But you know there's no sound on the video. Did you hit the button?
Let me see. Yeah, I did hit the button. I might have to redo it. I might have slipped a finger or something. Let me see. Boom. Do. Let me see if it works.
Black people are not oppressed in America.
Can you hear it?
There you go.
Okay.
This video is brought to you by Noble Gold. If the coronavirus has turned your financial life upside down, you need help figuring out your choices to get back on track.
Yeah, there's just some delay there. I'm not sure, but
hundreds of families through this crisis, they can guide you into safety and they can give you ideas on how to get there. If you need a financial friend, Noble Gold will be there. I need you to give them a call at 877-646-5347. Again, 877-646-5347, or just click on the link in the description section. Let's get into this. Black people are not oppressed in America in 2020. If Black people were oppressed in America, I just want y'all to bear with me real quick, because I am about as fed up as you are with the lies and the propaganda to boost up political expediency.
You have that app
people on the Democratic side.
That's where it's feedback.
Let me explain to you. If Black people were oppressed in America, then a fake news in a of a multi.
Say it again.
There we go.
Pause it. That's what.
I think you fixed it. I think it's just still it's a weird delay there, but it is, yeah, it's much it's good. It's better. I mean,
am I good? Am I good? Am I good? Am I good? Am I good?
so what's happening in your neck of the woods?
Well, a lot. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the with this rewriting history thing that's going on, and basically see the title McCarthyism when I was thinking about how people are being judged based on their political party, and it's bringing us all back in a backwards track. That's what I know of. How do you feel about? Number one, I got one question. Have you heard anything new about Second Amendment laws and the army and the military? I seen something on IG, but I couldn't. I didn't. I don't even think I saved it.
I haven't. Hold on a second. Let me figure out. I'm trying to figure out where all this echoing is coming from. Hold on. Let me just.
I might have to. I have to plug in my headphones.
Yeah, it might go away with your headphones, or if it's open, if you have StreamYard open anywhere like more than one time, I think it kind of goes.
Nope, I don't. I'll guarantee you if I put my headphones in, it'll stop. Yep. So we good?
Let me see.
We good.
I think I'm frozen.
Yep. No. Well, you good now?
Okay. Yep. I don't hear the echo.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we good. So, yep, it's a lot of people that's hitting the streets. I know that much. They turned down a lot of statues in DC lately. I just think it's a bunch of ignorance. Because I know some of the statues that they're burning down have nothing to do with oppression. It's like quite the opposite, but that's why I think it's just ignorance. It's just It's something else. It's something else. I just I don't know what to say because I think it's gonna be a line.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Good. Oh, it was me. I had an extra one open, so that was my end.
Oh Lord. All right. Let me see. Let me see. Let me
So yeah,
tell.
when you hit that, it should be. I think Brandon should be all good. So we're in real time now. That's good.
Okay. Let me know if the audio is good because I got my headphones in. Don't know how it's gonna work.
It's very good. It's very good.
Millionaire NASCAR driver
Is that fine?
would not be getting so much.
Oh wow. I didn't.
Hey.
All right. Oh yeah. Before I start that, I had an opening. Okay. One. How do you feel about statues being burned down and the message, whatever message is trying to be portrayed? I don't know if any message is trying to be portrayed. I think that's garbage at this point.
Oh, how about I share you out? Is that all right?
Please. Yeah. Share me out, like and subscribe. The like button. And at the end, I'm gonna wrap it on up with a bow on top.
About it, telling them I'm on the show tonight. But so okay. Let me get to your go on here on the. But honestly, DJ, I don't agree with any kind of desecration of any artifacts, whether it's a flag or whether it's a monuments. You know, it's just not. You can't. To me, it's basically a part of the roadmap. Where you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been is my whole mantra about that. And if they're ripping things down, the first thing that comes to mind is, what are you trying to hide? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's why I said that's why I said McCarthyism, because it's basically like beyond a brain, beyond a grand brainwashing. It's if you don't believe in our cause, you're wrong. Kind of thinking, and it's also if you disagree with the mob, then you're the enemy. Kind of, the mob doesn't get punished. It's just it's exhausting. It's exhausting to see certain things, and it's not being dealt with. And so now Trump put a 10-year sentence for anybody caught desecrating federal money. That's all. I mean, that's all. That was already on the books, but he put it in stone and put it in more aggressive federal legislation so that the states can't ignore it. But he did it specifically for DC because we have the way DC is mapped out, laid out by the Masons and secret societies. There's certain things that are put in certain places so that the historical significance, and if it's not there, you just won't know what happened. It's impossible to know what happened. They want to take away the Washington Monument. Come on, they want to take away literally everything. I can't think of one monument they don't want to take away. Lincoln, Lincoln, and everybody who really was an abolitionist. They're being destroyed at this point. They drove some monument that was an abolitionist, took his head off and drove his head into and took his head into the river. It's just getting ridiculous. I mean, that's why I said, what is the point? What is the message? Beyond that,
the message is to me, it's destruction. This is destruction at this point. It's not. I don't think they had a message. I think that they conflated. They basically manipulated the situation from George Floyd. That's so far removed from George Floyd and his family. I would think should be offended, I would think, by you know, and I'm not saying what they should be offended by. Let me rephrase that. I would imagine that they would be, you know, remotely curious about what's happening right now.
Right. It's what I did want to do, and what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna do, rather, if I have support from a person who is on the side of defund the police or not. I wanted to have a demonstration with somebody who doesn't agree with the police. They might be on the defund police side. I wanted to do a physical demonstration in which we can use of force situations, force on force, use of force situations, so they could see in the scenario and in certain scenarios, just in practice, how would you react, let alone in the real situation, so that we don't have a misinterpretation on what we see, because people are not put in life and death situations. It's a vast amount of people who have never been put in specific life and death situations or any. For them to have a respect on people who do, who make split-second decisions, and you may not like the result, but the result was still justified, if I could say that. Like shooting, like the last incident, shooting a taser at the cop, actually deploying the taser at the cop, but then the cop, and under Georgia law, it says that the taser is considered a deadly weapon, but then you turn around and charge the officer with felony murder. That is where I'm at, because I'm in law enforcement, and quote unquote, we are walking off the job. So that's where I'm at with this subject. Before I go on to the next one, and I want to see your views on this whole defund the police campaign. Defund the police, but we still need the police to protect us during our protest campaign. The whole thing.
Well, I'll start with the defund the police. I don't support defunding the police. And I think many people make a lot of people create what they call, what is it, a technique or a sentiment, what they call a straw man. They create these straw man arguments for defunding the police. And some people might say, oh, well, you know, they never get there in time, and you know, they never this, or they never, you know, they never make it on time, or they don't actually stop crime. I can't say that I think everything comes, it's being a cop, I would imagine, is very situational. I've never been a police officer, and I would imagine that you can't be a police officer in a vacuum. Every situation requires a different, I would imagine it requires some level of situational awareness.
Exactly.
So, and of course, you guys, you know, the police officers, I would imagine that they respond, that they don't make the rules. You know, you guys don't make the rules, and you also don't get to choose the rules that you enforce. But I will tell you, when it comes to would I trust my community to protect me in any form, shape, or fashion of community policing, I wouldn't trust anybody to protect me. I'm going to protect myself, for one, because the Second Amendment allows that. And as long as it allows that, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then behind that, I would imagine that maybe the police coming to the scene would be secondary. I'm my first line of defense, and then the police is secondary. I think we have the wrong.
And I promote that.
I think we have the wrong expectation, or somebody created an expectation, or created an image, or the stats created this, what people have in their minds and what police officers actually do and what they're trained to do, I think has nothing to do with what they're trained to do and how they are required to respond by law, because you guys are regulated. You guys answer to someone. You guys individually don't make up the rules. I've never been a police officer, but I tell you one thing, I do know that police
We
officers
answer to our
have,
mayors.
what's that?
I said we answer to the chief of police and our mayors. That's what we answer.
Okay. So with that said, I will say that I know that police officers have assisted, they've assisted in many ways. In many ways, we don't see everything that they do. Okay. That's the other thing. Of course, there's a level of bureaucracy. Of course, there's campaigns. I'm sure you guys are on, but every job has a campaign that you may not want to participate in. Every job has a promotion that you're required to come up with to meet a quota on. But does that mean that you have no value and that that you're not relevant, or that the thing is, they call it law enforcement, and I think it's law enforcement and reinforcement. That's what I think. It's a two-way. It's not just a one directional, one directional, institution, or it's the protocol is not just one way. I think it has to be dealt with. It's dealt with in real time, and you're also a police officer. I think you're not in a vacuum. You can't exist. You can't work in a vacuum. You can't work in a vacuum of circumstances. You have to be situationally aware, and you have to be, I think what I'm saying in long term, and for lack of a better phrase, you guys are more of a living, breathing operation. And
Right.
you have to do things on a situational, you have to respond situationally. And sometimes maybe there's not a situational protocol for every single thing, every single situation you might go with.
Right. That's where discretion comes in at, and we definitely get that privilege of discretion. That's why you see quote unquote certain people get off with misdemeanors and small things, because if the police has the option to use his discretion based on if it's a harsh enough situation. If it's a lower than misdemeanor, basically, then we have a discretion, or a warning could be admitted, but citations. But other than that, you're totally right.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't, and I understand that there's a history. I understand that the Black community has a long history, along a dark history. There's some darkness in that history with police interactions. Of course, going back to, of course, you want to go into Jim Crow. You want to go into the streets of Birmingham. You want to talk about the Bill Connors of the world. You want to talk about that era. Okay. And of course, you can even go to the West Coast. I was in the South, Bull Connor, Birmingham, or you go to the West Coast where you had, of course, in the 60s and 70s, you had one police stop too many. I mean, there's a dark history, and in fact, I believe the LA mayor during the time, I can't think of his name right off, but I believe he basically kind of ran that police force as if it was a military. He ran it like it was a military operation. And a lot of Black people were mistreated and were discriminated against based on that kind of leadership. Okay. But also, I do think that you have to handle everything case by case, and you can't paint everybody with a broad brush. No matter what side of the argument you're on, whether you're on the police side, and when are they going to let the police speak up for themselves? Something goes down, and all of a sudden the police have no voice.
That was a perfect segue.
The people, let's hear from the police officer, him or herself. Let's hear from them. But at the same time, it's the other thing is what they call it, armchair quarterbacking. Every time somebody sees something go down, well, he could have done this and he could have done that. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you what I don't believe. I don't believe the police officer's job is to be the socioeconomic director when somebody goes out and decides to get drunk. I don't believe it is their job to hold their hand after you're in the middle of a crime about to commit another one. if you're getting intoxicated, inebriated, and you are behind the wheel, that's already the first offense. Okay. And then for you to, I mean, that last situation that everybody was witnessing was then it goes into a resisting arrest, then you go into assaulting the cop. You're just racking up, you're just hitting all the points.
That's what we call stacking charges. From highest
stacking charges, and I've heard everything from. That's exactly what a woman would say. I mean, I'm not male bashing, and I'm not female bashing. But I'm also not a feminist. But I'm just saying, if I take myself, I'm saying that you cannot. When I go out and take a risk, I got to take the consequences that come with that risk. If somebody pulls me over, I got to go in.
Accountability.
I knew the risk when I got behind that wheel. When you put your behind in that seat, when you do that, you need to man up or woman up to whatever those consequences are, because you knew the risk if you got pulled over. And
the worst part about that is I had a friend that had died in a DUI accident, but the last time I was with him, he got pulled over by police in Bowie, Maryland, and they let him go, and he was drinking Hennessy straight out the bottle. But they let him go because of discretion. He was black. The police were black. They knew that he was drunk, and they knew that he was driving. When I say habitual, he drinks every single day except for maybe one or two, and that's just randomly guessing. That's basically the first time I see him again. He's already drunk, driving at the wheel, drinking a bottle of Hennessy. You can kind of imagine that you shouldn't be driving, and then the police let you go, which means throw all that race stuff, throw it in the trash. It means nothing. He got off. He was allowed to keep driving. They didn't stop and say you can't. They didn't take him out. He was not arrested that night. He kept driving, and basically, I think some police go, well, you're gonna kill yourself anyway. They kind of forget about the other people that you may kill. But the car accident was by himself and by him. He definitely did die on his own merits with a passenger and without killing somebody else in a car accident as far as another car being involved. But the sentiment of the cop probably was, you're killing yourself anyway. Going about your business. And lo and behold, I get that phone call. Your boy died in a DUI accident by himself. Not by himself, with a passenger. And just basically carelessness. And he's one of the guys where all his friends told him what he was doing was not the right thing, but we let him do what he wanted to do because he didn't listen to us. We loved him and appreciated him, but this is exactly what we mean by it wasn't no discrimination in the situation. He was black. They let him go. He didn't get locked up. There was no situation as far as that is concerned. And he still ended up perishing in the end. And love him to death. Love him to life, in fact. So I say all that to say the narrative has to change. It just has to change. People's experiences, independent experiences, are different than the narratives that are being pushed. And that's just like me saying, I don't feel oppressed. I don't feel oppressed. Most of my friends don't feel oppressed. We talk about this and we go, how come they're trying to make us oppressed? We say these things because we feel that it's like an underlying, you're not oppressed and crazy. That's almost like what it reminds me of when B. Tatum was driving by. A full Trump supporter, white guy, Black Lives Matter, white guy with a Black Lives Matter protesting, picket sign or whatever you want to call them signs. he goes, Trump supporter, but you're black. And then Tatum says, but you're racist.
I think I saw that clip.
I guarantee you that it went immediately viral because that's exactly what we mean. You have white liberals trying to tell us who and how we can think because of our skin. But you're black is the expression of a white liberal telling us, being black in America, conservative in that, you can't think that way because you're black. You're black. What are you doing? You're supposed to be oppressed. You're supposed to be fighting the oppressor. I could be building
It's really
business.
despicable. It's really despicable, and I get so sick of it. I have seen but you know where that comes from. I say the root of it. I say the root of that actually comes from we've been infiltrated on so many via so many institutions. The education system has been infiltrated.
The home.
The government.
They want to get rid of the nuclear families that's on the Black Lives Matter homepage. Whatever.
Well, you know what? That's also part of the UN agenda as well. It's on one of their points. Okay. So you've got our government. I mean, is anybody stunned that it never occurred to me that, that the whole time under the George Floyd situation, that guess who else is from Minneapolis, from Minnesota? Ilhan Omar.
Oh my God.
She has talked about some people.
That's why she said she wanted. That's why she said she wanted to dismantle it.
We're sinful. We're such a sinful nation. So that means I'm wondering if she's not an arm of propaganda for the BLM. That guy, what's his name? I just did a video. Devoneer Johnson. He refers to himself as Yeshua Musa. He got arrested, I think, in Wisconsin, and the people started tearing down the statues. And then who was the guy on the news the other night who was saying that if they didn't get what they want, they're going to burn this system down? Well, my thing is, why isn't the administration? It's time for them to stop playing softball. It's time for you guys to go get some of these people. We've got too many people. There's too many layers, DJ.
That's why I said so what Trump has did lately was he's literally speaking every day to governors and mayors, asking them, can you take control? Can you take your city back? Can you take your city back?
It's he
gets responses like, well we've seen it. For the chop zone. What did she say? She said
it's a summer of love, and it's just a street fair.
A happy zone. Like, stop. Oh my God. It just makes me
that's exactly what I'm saying. She has shown her hand a bunch of times that she's not going to do anything. And in fact, I think many of the businesses economically, they're going to suffer because of that. And I would just, I don't know how anybody can live there.
Right. So at this moment, it's literally we're at the break of two things happening. Police, 75% of police not wanting to work. That prediction came from my mind based on how many police take their jobs seriously. And also that calculation is combined with how many police in jurisdictions, especially Atlanta, who are hitting the blue flu lately, calling out sick all at one time because they're not being represented by their superiors and leaders who give them the powers that they have in their jurisdiction. So to me, if I am faced with a deadly weapon and I can't defend my life, but I'm supposed to be protecting you, basically defending my life is a crime, and I can get charged, or even worse, death. So now, me as a law enforcement officer, I can get death for protecting my life. So this is the reason why Democrats tossed out the police reform bill. The police reform bill, the main reason was because that Democrats said they didn't want to settle with the ability to use chokeholds in a life and death situation. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for them. They said, even in a life death situation, you shouldn't be able to use it. That means, literally, if I'm about to die right now, at this moment, gun on my head, whatever the case may be, I would have to die. That's okay for them. Instead of protecting my life and coming home, just because I couldn't use a maneuver physically. That's it. And nothing else. Which means death on police subliminally and literally, because you're telling everybody, and especially criminals, I can try to kill you, but if you try to kill me, guess what? They may give you the chair. They may give you they may put that needle in you and kill you. Death penalty. I can fight you, officer. I can beat you up. I can take your taser, shoot it at you. I'm good. I have the world backing me. But the moment you try to defend yourself, guess what, officer? That's it. You're gone. You're dead. The state will kill you. State-sanctioned murders, which has been that's a reverse. That's a catch-22 because they claim that police are doing state-sanctioned murders, but now when the police defends its life, it's okay to have a state-sanctioned murder. If that police was black, then it'll be a state-sanctioned black murder versus what we all know to be true, self-defense. So we need to kind of understand which side or angle we want to go on and understand use of force, understand situational awareness, like you talked about earlier, understanding action versus reaction. And once we get that understood, then we won't be so quick to jump to emotional responses and react to certain things. My man, old school Wolf is in the building. My fellow patriot. Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Appreciate
that. Oh my gosh, it's old school.
You know what it is. So,
give me 1 second. I'm having a sound issue.
Well, no problem. No problem. But
you know what, DJ? You know, I'm saying, you know, I don't have a police background, but I do know that if with no knowledge, I know that even, you know, if you're working and you're under the, I don't know if I can even say the auspices of an agency, whether it's government, state, federal. I know you don't get to pick the rules and you don't get to pick the ones that you enforce. And I think a lot of people just, you know, the straw man argument comes up so many places right about now. And I'm frankly sick of it. I'm sick of all the straw man arguments. It's time to talk. It's time to have some real talk. It's time to have some real conversations. No more, you know, this person is expected to operate in a vacuum or you know, I think I think that profession is a living and breathing one, but I don't know how much leverage you have in that. I don't know. I know
myself.
There are other occupations in which, you know, you have regulations too, but the situation you learn all of this discipline, but then at some point it comes down to the situational awareness and your management, how you manage your you manage your colleagues, or it just all these other things come into play. But people have to take responsibility for their actions. I do think I think that's first and foremost. As I said, if I go out here and do something do something that makes the cops come after me, I cannot just say that it's these cops, you know, they came after me because I'm black. You know, I'm not going to say that.
Accountability.
Just go ahead and arrest me. I took the risk. I knew I was drunk. I knew I was tired. Arrest me. And then I'll get somebody there to figure out how to argue my way out. But I don't want to be, but this is my problem. And this is a Black community thing. I don't like it if I go out and do something wrong, I wouldn't want the Black community. Don't assume the shame for what I did. Don't assume the guilt for what I did. Don't assume the blame. Don't put the blame on somebody else for what I did. I need to absorb all of that. I mean, I hate to put it this way, down home blues. You know, if I do something wrong, then I'm going to get the consequences for it.
Right.
But my family, they're going to be embarrassed for me, but not the whole community. Why is the community acting like a shock pad, a shock absorber, and absorbing every single thing somebody does wrong? It's not a group embarrassment, group shame, group think, group embarrassment. I'm sick of it.
They're trying to right the wrongs, flip it, switch it, and say, okay, you did wrong, but guess what? It's a right.
What did you say?
And op it.
And op it.
Bop it.
Op it, bop it, co-op.
Flip it, switch it, bop it. Twist it. And twist it.
Wow, you guys are
and welcome. Hey, be right back, guys. Appreciate you.
So how's it going, old school?
Good. I guess you all got tired of waiting on me and started doing your own thing.
Well, you know what? I was looking for, I'm like, let me make sure I didn't miss the Skype and all. I've had kind of a crazy week. I've had a crazy week, and I've had a crazy week. But I was like, let me make sure I didn't miss it, because I'm like, I usually get a notification from Wesley by now. I will say I'm gonna have to do that on my show, because I think it's better that you have, if you want somebody to come on, just don't open it up to everybody, because they kind of take it goes in a different direction, or you don't know what are we talking about anymore. I don't like that. So it's good that you're on, because I will just start sending you a link. If you can come on, then you're welcome to just hit it wherever you are. I'm not saying you have to come on, but like, it'll be there for you. So if you get a chance to come on, you can just come on, because I've had somebody express some some upset, being offended. And I can see why, but at the same time, I can't control people at the same time. So, but yeah. So yeah. And the same for you, DJ. If you guys are to come on in the future, I'll just send you the link via email, via text message, whatever you're on.
No problem. Appreciate it. Hey, guys, I'm about to press play on this right here based on the subject that we are talking, and then I'll move on.
Go ahead.
Appreciate you.
Yourself. You're going to take police from single moms, vulnerable children, domestic violence victims, the people who need them the most. You're robbing them. And you should be ashamed of yourself.
My name is Brandon Tatum. 6.5 years on the police department, and I did just about everything you can imagine. I was on the SWAT team. I was a field training officer, meaning I trained new officers how to become officers, and I was involved in almost every aspect of the police department. To all you woke leftists out there, let me give you a reality check. There are dangerous, evil people in this world. And when that dangerous, evil person comes to your front door, force entry into your house with your children there, who are you going to call? You're not going to call the politicians. You're not going to call the activists who are out here defunding the police. You're going to call a man or a woman who's sworn to uphold the law wearing a badge. They're not going to be cowardice. They're not going to turn away from you because of your race or because of what you look like or because of your past mistakes. They're going to come into your house and they're going to protect you with their whole life. No matter what the consequences are, no matter if they never come home to see their family, they're going to be there for you. I made $40,000 a year. I didn't do it for the money.
Right.
I did it because I love my community. You couldn't pay me enough to put my life on the line. You can't pay me enough to have to worry about not coming home every night to my children. You owe it to America to explain what part of the police department you plan on cutting.
Are you going to cut the domestic violence unit? Are you going to cut the individuals who investigate child sex crimes, internet crimes, elder abuse? Are you going to cut the SWAT team? Some of the best trained men and women in the entire world. Who do you think is going to handle terrorist attacks on American soil? Who do you think is going to stop the drug dealers from dealing drugs to your children? Who's going to do that for you? You guys are not equipped to do that. That's why you have police officers that go through the training. Have you ever been to an academy? Do you know what we learn? Do you know the sacrifices that are made? Do you know how much we spend time learning about the laws, learning about the Constitution, learning about how to de-escalate, learning about crisis intervention, learning about mental health crisis, learning how to drive, how to shoot? It's your fault that people are out here killing police officers for no reason, ambushing police officers, the hatred and vitriol for really good people. You are creating that animosity that should not exist. You're putting a target on our backs.
Thank you.
You're making it unsafe for us to go to work.
Thank you.
What do you think you're doing to the morale? Do you think it's exciting for a police officer to go to work? Why would anybody want to be a police officer right now? Why? The good men and women who are training, who are educated, who have had a passion since the day that they were born to be a servant is going to turn this job away. I want you to understand this. Policing in America is not just a job. It's a calling. And there are people who answer the call on a day-to-day basis. Why are you trying to destroy that dream? Why are you trying to distract and deter people from answering a calling on their life? And you're doing it for political gain. And all of these fraudulent politicians and celebrities yelling at you, telling you you should defund the police, guess what they have? Armed security. People that are there to protect them 24 hours a day. They have guns. You don't. And it breaks my heart to see a man of integrity served on the police department for 38 years.
Rest in peace.
Served honorably.
Rest in greatness.
Served the community. Was a leader. Lost his life. And what do y'all say? Nothing. Nothing. You should be thinking about defunding the criminal element in the community.
Thank you.
You guys are focused in the wrong area. We all understand policing and that we can all improve. I would love to see police officers have the availability to have more training, more exposure. That comes with more funding, not defunding.
We spend money out of pocket.
Let me tell you what needs to be defunded. These failed government programs that have done nothing for young people in the inner city, not provided opportunities, haven't provided education. They have done nothing. The funding of the police department is where you see success. A well-funded police department with good, adequate training, that's what's going to protect these young people. That's what's going to keep people safe. That's what's going to get the guns off of the streets. That's going to give young people an opportunity to flourish, to live their dreams, to accomplish things without getting snuffed out through gang violence, through drugs, through homicides. Come on, man, it's common sense. But y'all are not operating on common sense. You're operating on emotions. You're operating on political correctness. You're operating on mob rule. You and I both know what's really going on in these cities. You and I both know that the politicians have failed you. You and I both know that you're not really worried about the police officer riding a police car down the street and that they're going to harass you. You know you're worried about wearing the wrong color on the wrong street. You're worried about the dope boys in the hood selling dope, creating zombies. And for you hypocrites out there, you should be ashamed of yourself because you know you're doing this for political expediency. You're doing this for elections. You know you really don't care about the inner city. You know you really don't care about violence. Because if you did, you'd have done something about it 30, 40 years ago. Let me talk to you about what's going to happen, what gets cut from the police department when you defund them. Are you going to be there to protect women from getting abused? Are you going to be there for children who are on the internet getting exposed to predators? Are you going to be there when a woman is delivering her baby on the side of the road? Are you going to be there when someone is laying in the middle of the street with gunshot wounds? I need you to wake up. Use your brain. The noble police officers that go out and serve and protect on a day-to-day basis, they deserve support. They deserve funding. They deserve to be trained properly. They deserve to have the backing of the city. You're going to take police from single moms, vulnerable children, domestic violence victims, the people who need them the most. You're robbing them. And you should be ashamed of yourself. There are bad apples in every profession. The police department is not exempt. And every single person I've talked to, every single person watching this video hates bad cops. But you know who hates bad cops the most? The good cops. The ones who stick around.
We fight them.
The ones who serve properly. And you're making it hard on them. Patriotic Americans don't defund the police. They defend the police. Join me in supporting police officers all over the country so we can make this country a better place.
And that's all I got to say.
So FYI, I'm actually streaming us on my channel right now.
Nice. Well, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should get on the train.
So I actually have a few comments from my channel. You won't be able to see them, but I can see them.
All right.
So Larry W says he's awesome. Yeah, we were streaming Brandon Tatum there. Oh,
man.
Brandon's pretty unapologetic. He is not, but he has experience, you know.
Yeah, he has experience. I did a IG live with him that got several thousands of views. He's genuine. He's
he has his own opinions. He's not going to go with groupthink because.
Thank you. That's it.
Down here in Atlanta, there are actually we do run into black people that do like what Donald Trump says and would prefer him, but then they say, you know what, you got to stay with my people, gotta vote Democrat. Like, I don't think you understand how a vote works. Then
I said 95%. Everybody thinks the same way thing again.
You see, they police themselves in that manner.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just gonna say this on here. See my brother protesting, and I'm like, in my eyes, I'm like, dude, I'm like, what you doing, man?
What is he?
I when I say protesting, I'm like, just 2-3 weeks ago, you were saying that everybody was just having an excuse just to vandalize. But now I see you walking on Black Lives Matter Plaza with your fist balled up, hand high.
Maybe it's just a fun activity.
I'm just being honest. How's a kite? In front of the crowd, like, yeah, I'm making history, y'all. I mean, you my boy.
But see, that's the thing.
You my
it's
boy.
So
you
bad.
my boy, and I love you, and I don't want you to look at this video saying, nah. I'm being honest about your perspective before and your perspective now. Don't out of nowhere tell people to wake up when I put it this way. Maybe you deserve this narrative because you, number one, you practice Islam. And the diaspora of Islam is based on a racial bias, period. The whole diaspora of that religion, which is not a specific religion, because you got sects that is so diverse that if you disagree with this sect, he could slit your throat. So that's another story. But my point is that Black Power movement, it's like a cool thing to do. It's a popular thing to do. Even if you're not doing anything and you just hop on the Black Lives Matter movement, you're doing. Come on.
It's just
I'm not saying that he wasn't. Not saying
it's a generation of people that want to be involved in something.
Man, and they believe, not even just believe, they feel, even with good side of history, bad, whatever side of history you want. I don't pick sides. I just pick reality. Good or bad side of history that you are on, you believe that you are making a difference. I want the making a difference thought pattern to be based on what's going to happen tomorrow, not what's going to be burnt down tomorrow. Not saying that protesters are burning things down, just protesters. Those are looters. Protest peacefully. I'm for you because we had this personal conversation. But if you're going to take on the responsibilities of being backed by the BLM, this is in the diaspora of SJWs. If you social justice, for people who don't know, social justice warriors. So if you're going to take on the identity of social justice warriors, you, for the list of demands that Chopped and Chaz had, you should have a greater demand based on the leaders that lead your political jurisdictions, cities, DC. If the mayor's gonna make a Black Lives Matter plaza here, she also has to make the actual business opportunities available for Black lives, and not just the man is toppling over you. I'm gonna paint the streets so that you feel better mentality. I don't think that's helping people because you painted the street.
It's just all it doesn't. But when you look at many of these things that are going on, from the destruction of or desecration of monuments or flags, or it's all the same kind of a thing. They're drawing, they've got to make a street mural. It's that's Chaz. That you saw that in Chaz. You see, I don't know. It's like some type of utopia rash or rabid. I don't know. I just think it's a bunch of
socialism is a dream told by tyrants.
Say it one more time, because I don't think.
Say it for the people in the back.
Socialism is a dream told by tyrants.
Socialists, communists, Marxists.
We all saw how the Chaz worked out.
These kids don't know it. These kids have no idea
McCarthyism.
about what they're supporting. I mean, they have no idea. I tell you what was a fantastic interview. Now, Angela, it's Angela Stanton King. Now, I actually follow Angela on IG. There's some things about her that don't really set well with me, but she totally handed the Breakfast Club, the Leftist Club, their lunch the day before yesterday. That is the best. I'm like, how uninformed can these people be? And then they come up with their, I want to play that I want to do a video on it. Everybody under the sun has done it.
You talking about Angela
Stanton King.
I have to find it, mainly because she is the spokesperson on our radio shows.
I have it. You want me to pull it up right now for you?
Please.
Oh my gosh.
I will share it.
I mean, Charlemagne, even he was, there was like dead silence at times. I mean, they had no facts. She was just, it was just, I don't know. Like I said, there's things about her, but I'm telling you, you don't want to run into an argument with her literally in a back alley. You don't want to get in an argument with that. You really don't. Yes, she's running for as the 5th district in Georgia. I mean, she got a full pardon from Trump, but I'm telling you, like, she and Candace have totally different approaches. But she's the real. I mean, she was. I think they could understand. They didn't really play a lot of games with her. She pretty much just shut them down with. She had point after point after point after point. She's a mother. Many times, let me just stop talking about it. I think she did a lot of things well in this, and then you could tell that the butt hurt and the pouting was real. You could see that too.
So she was arrested in a car theft ring.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what's on her rap sheet. But
I was too. They threw it up.
I don't know. I don't know what here. DJ, I'm about to put it into your chat right now. I'm saying she's definitely. What can I say this in the most generous way? Way.
Of course. Freedom of speech.
I don't know. I had a friend of mine who's an ex music teacher. He said, she's got that street credibility. She's got street knowledge that I'll never have. I could read 1,000 books, and I would never know. You know, she's done time. I mean, you can't lecture her about what happens behind bars. I would never try it. I would never have the gall to say, "Oh, well, you know what happens behind. You guys get 3 hots in a cot." I would never talk like that.
She know her way. It's cool. She just know her way around the city. That's all.
Okay.
She and Candace Owens have had some friction.
I'm about to share it for you, but I got you.
They don't like each other.
Well, Candace, I don't even want to say what I think. I think it's more. I think it's more women. Somebody's like,
it's a women's issue.
Women's issues. Like this is just
Candace. You're saying Candace likes the spotlights, and Angela Stanton King kind of challenges.
I think Candace is coming from a different place. I think she's coming from.
It's called prison.
Yes. Without that experience, because I mean, rewind it back. But the thing about it is that I remember when P. Diddy, if that's what they calling him these days, P. Diddy and was it Killer Mike and all these people had this forum in Atlanta. They invited Candace, and she was like, "Well, you know, I like Candace and everything." They needed somebody. They needed somebody from the street like me, and I'm like, I didn't understand what in the entire heck she was saying, but I see it now. Like if you know, I don't know this. Like, you know, if you don't speak street and you don't speak hard time and whatever, you don't speak 3 hots in a cot, you know, you might not communicate. So people might not get your impact the same way. I don't know, but I think I ended up understanding she could handle more of an urban radio, some you know, uninformed people very well. But they respected her, I think, because some people, you know, they will look up to her and they'll put, you know that community bias, DJ. They're going to look down to her because Candace might be speaking more of the Queen's English than her. So you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
Wesley, I don't mean to leave you out.
What?
You're my brother.
He's Italian.
I understand more black than you think.
Right.
Okay.
He's Italian.
Well, okay. I think you know what I mean, but I'm just saying, you know, if you don't speak, I mean, I had kids to tell me I was somewhat of a UT when I was teaching high school. They said, you know what? You're somewhat of a UT.
You're not in.
And then eventually he said, I said, what's a UT? He said, you're somewhat of an Uncle Tom. You know, you come in here, you're talking all white, talking all proper and stuff.
I swear, the next person that calls you an Uncle Tom, just look at them and be like, you sexist. It's Auntie Tammy. Just really throw them off there because I don't understand.
Stop it. Just say Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, good job. Good job,
down.
BLM. Good job, BLM. Destroying racism by banning Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben's, friggin' Gone with the Wind, all the things that showed that
was in my subject matter.
Black people could make it in America after they were free. Just take all that away. All away.
And Jemima's great grandson is literally about to do a lawsuit.
Well, I think they should.
Oh, hell yeah!
I really think they should do that. Because I'm like, look, what am I supposed to, this weekend? I'm going to go pick up a couple of boxes and a couple of.
Everybody told us to buy as much as you can now because
the price is going to go up. I think I've already seen the price.
Not even just that, they're canceling them off the shelves for a new brand name, a new brand.
I just think they're just phasing her out. You know, is that what it is? You're just phasing her out.
Well, I say, Larry
Ben was a chef. I don't understand it.
Links to the people they're talking about need to hear them. Larry, can you assess that out a little for me?
Right.
Sorry, gents.
Oh, this is on here. Okay.
Remember, I'm on my channel and your channel at the same time.
Yeah, I'm about to look at your channel also at the same time.
I don't know how in the entire world that you do that, but I need to learn how to do it because I wanted to go.
I'm a genius. You see my new trick?
I know that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's amazing.
I mean, it looks like nice real fabric, and It's been untouched by any, criminals.
I'm trying to get her on the panel and okay. All right, I'm getting ready.
Flag.
I'm getting ready to start. Tune in.
About half of the black race.
Planned Parenthood doesn't only provide, Planned Parenthood doesn't only provide abortion.
Are you rewinding it back?
They do a lot more work than that as well.
So does every welfare that I've been able to get.
Oh, wait.
He also,
because you could just see the way they already frame it up.
HBCUs. Before COVID.
Oh yeah, she graduated from Howard?
Unemployment. The fact that the man was willing to listen to someone like me and allow me to influence him to not only pass the First Step Act, but make it illegal for women to give birth in chains. I realized that this man is not the man that they're proclaiming him to be.
I love this.
I don't have any problem with a person voting their interests. I saw a quote.
I think she's supporting.
I credit President Trump for being my inspiration.
There we go.
Before she became active in conservative politics, I was a lifelong Democrat just because. Well, monkey see, monkey do. I was just doing everything that my family was doing. I guess we had all been duped. So what made you, get away from the Democratic Party?
Well, my own story, when I came home from prison, I was a convicted felon. I was a single mother. I had 4 children waiting for me. They gave me a $25 check and a bus ticket and said, here, go start your life over. Well, we had absolutely nowhere to go. I couldn't get the welfare that I've been able to get before. I couldn't get any housing assistance. So I had to figure out how I was going to make it. I had a God-given gift, which was writing. So I wrote my life story. From there, I went on to being a national best-selling author and then starting my own publishing company. Not only that, the part about being a single mother, remembering when I was getting those benefits and how Section 8 said, as a single mother, we'll help you and your children, but the father can't live in the home.
Exactly.
Or when I was receiving welfare, they'll say, okay, you'll get this certain amount of money at the beginning every month, but you can only make a certain amount. It wasn't until I was denied government benefits and nobody wanted to help me that I discovered my greatness. And so this road to entrepreneurship is how I eventually became free. And I know if we really want to be free as a people, we got to reduce poverty.
Your own business.
Because once we reduce poverty, we reduce crime. We need more entrepreneurs. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Thank you.
You can do that as part of any party, though, or being an independent. You don't have to be a part of a party to do that, though, right?
Well, for me personally, I'm a conservative because I don't believe in handouts. I believe in handouts. When we talk about the Democratic Party, it's a large focus on welfare, right? People only need welfare for a certain amount of time. We don't need to become lifelong welfare recipients. I'm also not.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh my
I'm sorry.
gosh.
I'm also not a Democrat because of abortion. This is my thing. Roe v. Wade was passed off of a lie. As of right now, where we're always crying about being an oppressed minority, but we are always going to be an oppressed minority if we continue to abort our offspring. Abortion is the biggest genocide against Black America.
Gotcha. Let's get it.
Because I actually have asked the questions to some African Americans. I'm like, so first I asked them, like, so what is the what's the population of Black people in America? They say 13%. I'm like, what would that be without abortion? They can't. They refuse. They refuse to answer that question. They just say, well, there would just be too many of us. We would and we would all be impoverished.
Stop listening to
They don't see. They don't want to. They don't want to admit that if abortion was never a thing, they would be the majority.
Who even said that? That there would be too many of us. Who gets to decide? Who gets to decide? That sounds like
the Black.
That didn't come out of Bill Gates, did it?
No. See, I just
right.
I always think about the odd way around things. So if you're talking to Black person that's trying to tell you that they need to protect abortion, you can go through that. Ask them, so how many what's the percentage of Black people in America? They're going to say 13%. Okay, well, exactly. What would that be if abortion was never a thing? They refuse to think about it. They've been you might be able to get one person to say I don't know, and you just say the correct answer is you would be the majority.
Exactly. We're talking about millions that are not existing and not born based on state and government sanction. You're not allowed to live.
She gets into that pretty well. Like she's I think she's a pretty big. She's establishing herself as a huge advocate for that's anti-abortion, and she's got. I think she's got. I don't know how many kids she's got, but she's got quite a few kids. And so
yes, she was talking about being a single mother.
So I digress, as ABL says.
You know what?
Hey, you're on it.
I actually want to read her book now because I never knew anything about her. I'm like Angela Stanta King. Okay, I just thought she was some personality on Twitter. I really knew nothing about her until you mentioned that she was pardoned. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Right,
now,
same here.
This is intriguing. I want to read her book because obviously she started somewhere. I guess she got to prison and she's like, why did I get myself in prison? I'm also curious about how
that was her low. She wanted to reach a high in her life, and she's seen the lowest that she ever wanted to go.
Being taken away from her children.
She's seen the system as a whole, and how after you get out of prison, it's a cushion of we feel sorry for you, and she wanted nothing to do with that. That's exactly what she's speaking on.
It's amazing. Going from felon to a congresswoman.
That's story, right?
That's better than bartender to congresswoman.
But it reminds me of the book From Crackhead to CEO.
Never read that one.
Wow. I think it came out last year.
So this makes it very hard for the left to try and bash her because they would have to say, "Look at this! You have convicted felons running for Donald Trump." Wait a minute.
Man, you're so right though. I mean, sometimes.
Well, she's. Go ahead, DJ. I'm sorry.
It is fine. Sometimes I think that as far as results goes, they'll run out of talking points based on people's lives and their results on their lives. You see the counter that Charlemagne said was, you don't necessarily have to be a part of a particular party to think in a specific manner.
That's just to keep Trump hate alive. Keep hope alive. Keep Orange Man bad. Keep Orange Man bad alive.
Of course.
Keep Orange Man bad alive. Keep Orange Man bad alive.
He didn't call out Biden, did he?
Of course.
You should see that. That's
nobody. The Democrats are fighting Biden as we speak because he is not for defunding the police, because he needs police to do his laws on Second Amendment rights. I remember this, and I never forgot about it. He's not fooling me because he doesn't want to defund the police. He wants to use them. He wants to use them, and if they're not a tool to use for your AR-14s, then there will be no use for you.
Joe Biden doesn't know what his platform is right now. Honestly, remember, he did mention he was going to beat Joe Biden.
Even 20, 30 years ago, I'm going back way too far. Okay.
All right.
10 years ago,
let me get on.
Joe Biden was also saying him and Obama would not support specific laws or ordinance that definitely the Democratic Party represents, which is one, abortion, and that has been recorded through video. So it's just funny how you switch your perspectives based on homosexual marriage is actually the one I was talking about. He said him and Obama would not support the LGBT homosexual marriage referendums based on law because they were into the nuclear family thing years ago, and they were full for the nuclear family thing being directly tied to how this country is being brought upon. This country is being brought upon father, mother, son, raising up a family that can potentially get entrepreneur benefits based on owning your own things, conservative values, having your own rights, and walking up the chain. That's what they used to believe in. When the parties find a different narrative, everything switches. And that's what's so funny to me, because they're playing these old videos of Joe Biden saying that he will never, ever be for homosexual marriage. Him and Obama. He's saying, and they were like this when it came to politics. So obviously they had a trade-off. Okay, well, I guess we'll trade off some of our values. Is basically what they did. So I mean, it is what it is, but it's business at the end of the day. I'm about to unpause this if I can. If you have any interjections, we'll take those now, and then I'll pause it. But I bet I'll watch this whole daggone video. So daggone long.
Yeah, you of course do what you will with the size of it. It's huge, but I'm telling. I think you should see the exchange, the dialogue.
Of course,
it's going to be one sided in a minute, and they're gonna just pout, just sullen teenager shows up.
All right, let's get it.
Strategically place their abortion clinics in our neighborhoods, and just about every time you hear a Democratic candidate go on stage, the first thing they say is Black women need access to abortion. So if we really want to restore the value to our own lives, if we really want to say,
a woman's right for abortion.
I just want to.
If a girl, like let's say a 16-year-old girl was raped, or somebody was raped and they're pregnant, and they don't want to have that child, they don't want to have that experience. You don't feel like it's a woman's right to have an abortion?
So they talk about women's rights and women's choice. We need to first figure out why the government gave us a choice to kill our children and get away with it. Because as a man, you make the child. If you wanted to kill the baby, you would go to jail. You don't have a right to decide whether or not your child lives. Neither should a woman. Even in the instance of rape, let's just talk about it, because I've been raped before. I have a 27-year-old daughter that's a lawyer, still deciding to choose life, because at the end of the day, that child is still partly mine. Now, if you can't kill the person who raped you, why are we killing the child? And in addition to that, rape is only 1% of abortions. So the argument that's on the floor right now about abortion is the Democrats wanting to fund it. It's not necessarily taking away a woman's right, which I don't believe any woman should want a right, because here's the thing:
DJ,
someone else's right to live.
You see Tom?
Well, I'm definitely pro-choice, and I highly disagree.
I'm pro-choice, and one of the reasons I'll say that is because I think history has proven that when abortion was illegal, women were still having abortions, and they were doing them in very unsafe ways and dying from them. Okay, so that was still continuing.
Hey, Pinoid. So this is actually DJ's channel. I'm actually streaming his channel on my channel because I'm
Oh, all right.
Mr. Tom,
Pinoid.
That's Appalachian gibberish.
It's not Appalachian. I'm from the East Coast.
I'm from the East Coast too, Maryland. We got Appalachia over here. Let's get it.
Hey, man, I'm from Harrisburg, man.
Hey, shout out to Jensen.
Man, listen, I spent a lot of time down there in Lexington Market, and down there on what is that, Holabird Avenue and whatnot.
All right. What is your perspective? What you got going on? What is your views and perspectives on what's going on right now? Let's get it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, man. I legitimately think like everybody's barking up the wrong tree. So like it's kind of like this. So if you ever watch Robin Hood, like any of these movies back in the day, like it wasn't the tax collectors that were the issue, that were out here like collecting up, Prince John's money or whatever. It was Prince John himself was the issue, right? He was the problem. Like when we have 10,550,000 arrests in a year, maybe we should have a conversation about how many laws we have. You know,
I'll agree.
right? Maybe we should have a conversation about every black and white man who was shot by the police having a child support case. Maybe we should talk about individuals who go to jail and come out with child support debt on average going back 4 more times and being driven into the underground economy. Maybe we should talk about that.
The problem with that, though, is that if we talk about those things, we might actually accomplish something. Deep state don't want that.
Right. Now we're digging into the issues. That's scary to them.
You know, I mean, because that's my mentality. That's where I come from with all the like. It's not a black and white issue. It's a class issue. It's a poor issue, is what it is. I mean, like, you know, like they go, oh man, you know, black neighborhoods have 78% illegitimacy rates, but like, yo, the worst illegitimacy rates in the nation are in like West Virginia and some of those counties down there.
When you get into illegitimacy, that one rates. You're also getting into that's a cultural generational thing that has been passed down based on specific things. I would say culture, but it's also passed down through generation. I would say perfect example, Jesse Lee Peterson will always say that back in his time, under the Jim Crow laws, 50s, 60s, when he's 20, 30 years old, that the illegitimacy rate was set 25% for all colors. All colors. Not
actually,
not,
it was lower.
Not,
it was lower.
Even, you're right. You're actually right. At least 75% of people were married and had kids, stayed married and died married. All the way through, they finished the whole thing. They did, and they were happy. And I've talked to these old couples, like personally, 50 years. I'm a special police officer. I talk to these old guys, 50 years. They go, oh, we love it. It was different back then. They tell us. So I'm trying to figure out what happened other than infiltration. What happened? You know?
Well, like, you know, you want to really have that conversation. I mean, all right, like you have to look at where all these police shootings happen. Like, where are all these protests happening? Where's the major crime centers in America? They're in the places where we deindustrialized.
Metros,
right?
And districts.
Well, it's Detroit, it's Camden, it's Philly, it's Baltimore, right? It's Cleveland, it's I mean, Toledo, it's Milwaukee.
Democratic owned cities.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that, right? What it is places where you had a massive industrial base, right? You had like all the black individuals, you know what I mean, who were like, you know what I mean, coming off of sharecropping, you know what I mean, after the Reconstruction and whatnot, ended up, you know what I mean, going up to the industrial bases to find better work, better education for their kids, you know, better opportunities in life as an in general thing, right? And then we deindustrialized during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s to the point of where all these individuals no longer had work, but we were still living in the same manner in which we were living when we had these massive industrial bases that were paying individuals union family sustaining wages.
I can't agree with that point. Yeah, you're right. Now, mainly the only reason why I actually agree with that specific point was because my great grandfather was born on the farm in Virginia. Been working since he was 5 years old is what he tells me. But all his siblings that had passed were born had lived most of their life in the city. They passed first, so the city dwellers passed first, while the countryside dwellers, people who lived on the countryside for a longer period of time and adopted certain living tactics, even if they moved to the city, which he did. He lived to be 93, so they all just about 100 years old. So I literally use like some kind of calculation formula based on, okay, you use these tactics and they worked in the city. You never got robbed. You never got all these crazy I'm oppressed situations that most people say. And you were in the inner city. You went to the military, became a sharpshooter. Nobody messed with you. You didn't have to worry about the white man. You succeeded. You had a security job. You had several jobs after that. You succeeded. Had a family after that. Your family had another family, then had me. Had another family, then had me. Y'all taught me these things, so I still hold the mentality of hard work coming from nothing. These things, I'm trying to figure out when I think these things are going to disappear like real soon. I think I really do. I don't want it to happen, but I think the progressive conversation is being projected on our whole country based on, okay, the old system is trash and we need to topple the system and come up with a new system. That's why my title for this is McCarthyism, because it was totally based on your political view, and if you don't agree with my political view, you're an enemy of the state, and you should be silenced and shut up immediately.
Oh yeah. No. I mean that's part of it, right? But like on top of that, what they did was they went door to door in the neighborhoods that deindustrialized in all these areas, and they said, "Hey, look, if you kick your man out, you know what I'm saying, who's unemployed, we'll pay for your rent and we'll pay for your electricity and we'll pay for your food and we'll help you." Yeah, and like the thing is like this has become these Section 8 housing and things of this nature. Men aren't allowed to live there over the age of 18.
Right.
So like, it's kind of like this is why it's like why I look at the Black Lives Matter movement and I look at it and I go, why are there all these women out here like protesting? Like they're the cause. Like they're the reason for it.
Emotions. You go woman, independent woman. That's where it starts. Independent woman. The diaspora of an independent woman means I don't need a man in the house. The government told me I don't need a man in the house. The government will feed us because I don't need a man in the house. And if I do get a man in the house, he won't be the leader of the household anyway. So it wouldn't even matter. Because what? She can do bad all by herself, right? So this is the perspective that these women are given.
Yeah. And like even if you do end up getting married to a female, she gonna be on social media standing here, looking for likes from every other dude anyway. Like it's
yeah.
He's so right.
Like I was up in the mountains, right? I went to go pick up my kids and shit this last weekend, and I was up here, and I'm in the mountains, like I'm in a white neck of the woods, like a white neck of the woods, right? Old coal town, right? like I'm talking about, like, up there they got the Romberger wedding twice a year, like it's just a white neck of the woods, right? So
Angus sound.
Right. And like, so I go up here to pick up my kids, and like I'm like, all right, well, like, it's late, because I'm a trucker and I had just got back, whatever, it's like I was like, all right, let me grab some food because they was hungry, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna grab a pizza, go sit at the picnic table and eat. And as I'm driving to the park, I hear this Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, right? And I look, and it's like 45 white chicks, 3 black dudes, and like 10 white boys following behind them.
It's the same thing that happened here a couple weeks ago. Here in bumfuck North Georgia, I thought I'd never see it. On the main street, they had a BLM protest. It was 98% white. Like there was like 2 or 3 black guys there. Well, one was biracial. They were so happy. They didn't look like
all the white boys, all the black dudes, they were biracial. There wasn't like no no Wesley Snipes in that crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. Like, get out of here with that. Like, nah. Like, these is kids of the chicks that went down to Lebanon and found a black dude. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know, like, you know, these is light skinned motherfuckers and shit. He's, you know, like, right?
Kaepernick.
Yeah.
It's another Kaepernick.
Like, yeah, like Kaepernick. Like, I thought Kaepernick was Egyptian when I first seen that motherfucker. I'll be honest with you. It was like, that nigga Tunisian? Like, where is he from?
Remember, all the last Egyptians were light-skinned for a reason. It's just another play of the situation on a bigger scale and a more recent scale. Same situation, the ones that are held at high esteem and worshipped were always light-skinned at the end of the Egyptian dynasty.
Yeah, like I'm Italian, right? So like I get like the whole, you know what I mean? Like I'm from Calabria, like my family's from Calabria, like the very, very bottom of the boot. You know, so like I get it, like we're real dark people and stuff. Like there's you go from like Sweden where like they're translucent, you know, and then you know, once you get down to like the middle of Africa, it's like black, right? You know, and like in the middle, you know, it's like kind of all, you know, it shades in, you know what I mean, then fades back out again, you know, that's how that works. You know, because there was wars and, you know, trade and, you know, whatever the case.
You guys were the Giulianis of the day.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, you know, I remember like when I got here, like, you know, when I was growing up back in like the 80s and, you know, I mean, early 90s, legit, like, I didn't have a place. Like the KKK white boys hated me. You know what I mean? The rich white people, like I had to put my hands in my pocket in their house. You know, like I wasn't black. I had to hang out with the Puerto Ricans. Like that's the only thing we really had to hang out with.
I can actually tell you why. Mike Tyson spoke on this. You guys had the red corner and they gave us the blue corner. This is the reason why they put us against each other when we boxed. And we, Italians and blacks, created the boxing ring that we see today. See, they see, you know. you're brother, you know. But they didn't tell us this at the beginning.
Like we go back and forth.
Beginning, they just put us there. You were called the indentured servants, and they called us the slaves / indentured servants. But we still fought each other, basically to the death, with our own colors.
Okay, bloopers for me.
like
dude, like falling apart.
Like, you know, like I started like on YouTube. I started the White Trash No State, right?
Chance here.
Right.
Right. You know, because like I get it. Like, back in like, you know, the reason why like the whites down south, like they hated the blacks, it wasn't like really because of the fact that like it was some racist thing. It's because of the fact that like economically, like what are you going to do to compete with labor that's free?
Seriously.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, that's like the Mexican thing. Like, yo, why is everybody upset about the Mexicans? Because they're doing work for like, you know what I mean, like $4 an hour that people used to get, you know what I mean, decent, like down in North Carolina, at the Smithfield factory, right? They bring in Mexicans, literally bust them in from Mexico, right? And they're doing jobs that like used to be like union black jobs.
But the blacks can't physically and literally survive because I'm honestly telling you, because I watched the whole documentary on this specific thing, especially being in the fields. The genetic of the blacks of now can't survive based on just being in the fields and working. We are not like that. Our genetics have been altered from the old days in which our hands were extremely fat and we were walking around just knees were strong out the womb. We're not like that no more. We're not the field Negroes that you used to see. It's just not like that anymore. So
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like today, like legit, like they're doing it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a reason why everybody's upset at like the Mexicans. You know what I mean?
The reason why I'm saying this because I got a Mexican friend and he told me his dad, they bring him over here. They bring their whole families over here, but they literally genetically and what do you call it? Generationally have been conditioned to work in specific conditions for long periods of time. So certain cultures are not used to that anymore. Blacks have been more entrepreneurs for the past 40 years than hard earned labor, masonry, carpentry, the list goes on.
Yeah. Y'all were the artisans. Y'all built the White House.
Right. So we built the White House. We built the actual daggone Washington Monument was built by slave hands from different countries. They put different bricks inside of it, but now Antifa and those people, protesters, want to tear it all down. You literally have hardworking slaves that put it there on purpose. Why are you trying to take it down? It's their proud moment of saying, we made it. We're entrepreneurs. We're trying. We own this physically with our hands. We want to turn it down. We want to tear it down. I don't understand. And I'm here in DC and in Maryland, but they want to turn that down. Like, you can't even go through a tour from the Washington Monument without being told that slaves built this, and Freemasons built this, and people who founded our country built this on principles of a free nation. So if you tear down that Freemason principle, it's Freemason principle. If you tear down that free country principle, then what is it? A broken country? I mean, I think that's like literally what it's going to be. I mean,
one more thing before I let the female jump in. One more thing real quick. This is my problem with the whole mentality of we need more government, we need more agencies and all this nonsense. Look, Black people need an opportunity in the inner cities to not have to jump through all these hoops in order to start a business. All right, you shouldn't need FDA's inspections to start a lemonade stand. You shouldn't have to have transgendered bathrooms in order to open up a basic car lot. There's just so many stupid hoops you have to jump through in order to be able to start a business and be entrepreneurial. And the cost of being able to stand here and step up and handle that and being able to start a business is entirely too high. Legit. And it needs to be brought back down to a point of where regular individuals can have a chance to be entrepreneurs and build a business and build a family and do what they're supposed to do. And I apologize, Shorty. We've been talking over you. Go ahead, man.
Black Spring, it's your turn.
Oh my gosh. Are we in the neighborhood again?
I think so. I don't see any.
I think I left the planet.
You left. Oh, look at you with all the nice digs in the background.
Oh, that is my guy.
Universe. I don't know where I'm trying to where do I jump in here?
Oh no, see, I thought these two would jive well. They say so many things from the past. Honestly, I don't follow half of what they say. I kind of focus on the present. I really focus on the present. So let me tell you why so many people have a hard time saying, Black Lives Matter. It's because most people don't want to be associated with all the stupid shit they do.
Well, that
agreed.
Agreed. That is borderline retarded. Legit, a week before George Floyd got killed, there was a white kid who got legit shot in the back from the cops who was unarmed because he was running because he had a child support warrant. And he didn't want to go back to jail. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is a normal thing. I have a friend of mine, legit. She just sent me a picture of a baby she lost. Right, it was weird. Right, I'm like, why would you send me that picture? But anyway, right, her dad was a Jewish dude. He called the cops. Right, I don't even know what he called the cops for. I think somebody was trying to mess with his house or something, and the cops shot him.
Shabbat shalom.
Right, this is what I'm saying. It happens. Some cops are ridiculous. There was a cop up in the mountains, a state trooper. He let off 15 rounds and hit the door. Right, the dude was in the doorway. And he missed him.
What are you drunk? What are you drunk? On the job?
No, he's just scared. He closed his eyes and fucking let off rounds.
You're right. He's scared. Thank you. officers are scared on the job 20 the whole 24 hours a day. I'm just telling you, I'm a cop, so I know these scared assholes that try to do a job with me. And I got to talk them down and calm them down. But
I've walked by cops, like my kid, you know what I mean? Like I brought him home, somebody called the cops or whatever, right? And I brought my kid home, you know what I'm saying? I'm out in the car. He's all like dehydrated or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And like, so like I'm sitting there, you know, I'm giving my kid water. He's sitting in the passenger seat. The cops pull up behind me or whatever. And like the cops stand, like I walk past the cops. And as I walk past them, they all take a step back and put their hands on their gun. And I'm unarmed. Like I'm 6 foot 250, but there's 3 of them. There's no reason they should be scared.
Of course it is. They never fought a day in their life.
Yeah, they're all like 22, 23 years old.
Exactly. They're scared of their dads. They're scared of their dads. Of course they're going to be scared of you.
Yeah, they got that gym teacher from, you know, Beavis and Butthead haircut. You know what I'm talking about?
Of course. So, I mean, like that. And one thing I'm gonna say again because you're on it now. I'm gonna definitely do within a week to 2 weeks. I'm gonna definitely do a use of force demonstration and post this video on my YouTube channel of a cop's response to an unruly person who was supposed to be just doing a regular either traffic stop, a regular just something small, a misdemeanor that ends up escalating based on the suspect's unwillingness to be arrested. It's a big thing that that cops are saying right now is okay. If you're drunk, you got a DUI, dude. You'll be out in hours. I'm a cop. I can tell you, dudes that are watching this, you'll be out in hours. You'll be out the next day. God damn it! I mean, seriously, relax.
Just can't have you driving home.
Relax. You're not. There's no guy waiting for you in a holding cell trying to kill you. I'm telling you this. If you think so, guys are working there to make sure you can be separated and he can be hogtied if he's gonna kill you. But god dang it, you're gonna be fine because you were never locked up before in your life. Don't don't try to take a police weapon because you. I don't know where to go with this based on the reaction of what you do when the police pulls you out. We need to have a discussion on that. This initial reaction thing. This we have to fight the powers stuff. Stop it. Stop.
I think I
never had to feel this when the police came and even if I was a passenger. I never had to do this as a passenger. I never had to do this because it's almost like instantly if you didn't give off that energy of man, fuck you, man. They don't react a certain way ever, and that's the reason why I say I'm not oppressed. If I act a certain way when they come to the car, they respond with that energy. Period. Every single time, and it never failed with me, and I'm black. So I could be drunk. None of that matters if I'm non-confrontational. If I'm nice. If I'm not saying "fuck you" when they get to the door. I mean, common sense. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like that. How do I put this, man? You know, like that. We have to like loosen up on some of these laws. Like this law and order nonsense needs to stop, right? There has to be a limit to it, right? You know, especially over pre-crimes. Like I think DUI is a pre-crime, right? It's like unless you kill somebody or harm somebody, like you wreck your car into something, whatever the case might be, like you literally actually didn't commit a crime.
That's actually one of the points I wanted to make. One of my best friends who ended up in a DUI He died. Him and his best friend, him and his buddy, his drinking buddy, it died behind the wheel in an accident. And it wasn't because they hit another car, it was because they hit something like a pole or something. But they died. But my point was that the last time I seen this guy, he got off on a DUI while drinking Hennessy while driving. Crushed half the bottle with his boy before he got pulled over in Bowie, Maryland. But the black police in Bowie, Maryland let him go. Gave him a warning. It wasn't his first time. Still gave him a warning. So we could throw away the discrimination. We could throw away the black while driving thing because it didn't matter to the police. They let him go home in his car with the passenger, drunk.
Well, I feel like they should like take the keys, right?
They should have, because he would still be he would still have
the car, drive him home. Anything other than letting him drive home.
In my eyes, they should have.
It's only half a bottle of Hennessy. Only half a bottle.
Yeah, that's why I said the perspective of the cops was, you'll kill yourself anyway. Was the perspective of the cops. The perspective, eventually, they said, well, you don't obey the laws. You don't give a damn about our laws. We're trying to save your ass anyway, but you don't give a freak.
Well, like
you don't care.
I got a white buddy, right? And like he went out, he was drinking and driving, and he caught a flat, right? And he ended up pulling over to the side of the road, swerved a little bit because he caught a flat. You know what I mean? And like, he was doing 60 mile an hour down 83. And he pulls over to the side of the road, you know what I'm saying? And apparently because of the fact that like he had to, slow down quick or whatever it was and get control of his vehicle and get over, right? The guy behind him was upset, you know what I'm saying? Because he, stopped a little shorter than he would have liked him to. Like, so the guy pulls in behind him, right? Gets out of his car and starts, waving his hands around and just losing his mind or whatever. And then a truck comes up and hits this dude, kills him, right? And my buddy did 5 years for involuntary manslaughter because he was drunk behind the wheel.
What do they call that in court? I don't want to say unintentional circumstances. It's a specific word that they're going to use in court. The unintended circumstances that compelled the situation to happen based on the variables led up to the situation of him getting hit by that truck is what they would have used.
Yep.
Didn't necessarily mean anything. Him drinking had anything to do with anything. But the logical, linear, step by step, this happened, that led up to this, is what they have to use for him to get that 5 years.
I mean, it was, he did 5 years in prison, right? You know what I'm saying? Gave him literally no mental health, you know what I'm saying? Because he killed, like, a dude died in front of him. That's a traumatic experience for any human being, right? You know what I mean? Right. And the dude ended up being a drug addict and just messed up the rest of his life. Couldn't hold a job, none. You know what I mean? Because like, he was a felon. What are you going to do? He did 5 years in prison. There was nobody who was going to really hire him. You know what I mean? His wife left him, kids left him, end up, on the streets, all messed up in the game.
I'll give you a opposing perspective based on 5 year felon. My uncle, okay. I was kidnapped when I was about 13, 14 years old by some thugs. My uncle shot these guys up. They weren't hit, but they still ended up facing the charges. One of these guys was locked up about 5 years. My uncle was locked up for 6. My uncle was the shooter. Basically, don't matter now. I can say it all now because the case is over with. The prosecutor that sentenced my uncle gave him 5 years based on him shooting these guys because they kidnapped you, so they can bind it based on kind of like a crime of passion. You're kidnapping my nephew, so I feel like I can shoot you now. That makes sense based on emotional response. You're kidnapping my family member, so I'm making sure that if you're eliminated, then this will never happen to my family. Makes sense. He did six. He does 6 years, but at the same time, the criminal that got kidnapped, that kidnapped me, I ended up finding out exactly who he was, having a whole conversation with him. I did 6 years also. Got out 6 years later, same time. Both of them, same time. Ended up in the same jails. Both of them got out. The guy who kidnapped me now is basically on a Christian crusade of changing his life because he knows that me, I'm Second Amendment bound, and I will be damned if me or my kids experience anything like this ever again. So, needless to say, at this kind of like time, criminals are being lifted up. Criminals are getting privileged. Criminals are getting, I don't know a better word to come up
Exalted.
with. Exalted, raised to the highest of heights, so that you can you can be horrible. You can have no morals. And you can be. I'm trying to figure out how does this work in a society that's supposed to work.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's been a long time since I like really been in the actual job market because like I've been a truck driver for about 7 years now. So like I just, I don't have to really deal with like filling out applications and all the bullshit or whatever.
One question as a truck driver: what would you do during a looter and riot situation when they cut off when they cut off your road and they loot your truck if they can?
He would drive faster than the FedEx guy.
That's exactly what I was.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it balling, buddy. Like, let's hammer it down.
He's gonna zigzag. He's
No.
gonna want to hit as much road as possible.
If you see a group of Black Lives Matter in a linear line blocking that already stopped your highway, you're on a highway. You got to get to where you got to go and drop your load. You only work a certain amount of hours. They're stopping your money.
Yeah.
You have a family, a situation. You're not a criminal. They threw a brick in your goddamn in your 18-wheeler. They want to kidnap. They want to take over your whole truck. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, number one, I know none of them know how to drive a truck, so like, I'm not in any danger of them actually stealing it.
True.
Right. So that's not really an issue. But like, yeah, all you gotta really do is lock the doors, you close the curtains, hop in the motherfucking back, or like, because you really can't do a whole lot as far as like, if the highway's blocked off.
The reason why I asked that is because
you're behind cars. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna kill all the people in the cars in front of you too?
The reason why I asked that is because it was a truck driver who kept driving. But it was a person that was in between his wheels that got dragged.
Yeah.
And now he's under investigation. I'm not saying he's arrested because I haven't seen the information of him being arrested because they looted his whole truck. They hopped in the back of his truck, started stealing everything in the back of his truck. After they started stealing everything in the back of his truck, FedEx or not, he kept driving. He floored it. And when he floored it, it just so happened that it was so-called, let me stop with the word protest. Let me use the word vandals. Vandals that were trying to destroy the property, the vehicle that he was driving, and they were in between wheels. They got drugged, dragged, whatever word you want to use to be politically correct. At least a mile. Recorded by other people, and they're saying that this is insane. It's insane for you to try to, number one, take over an 18-wheeler. Number two, expect him for him to be docile. So that's the only reason why I asked is because they're trying to put the mob against you guys, and you do our business. You make sure supplies are kept. You make sure things are where they need to be. So if you guys are being attacked, then what do we have? We have no supplies.
There should be a premium on all freight going into a city at this point.
Thank you.
Well, several trucking what do you call it? Trucking companies said, "Hey, we're going to stop delivering, especially like Minneapolis." I don't think they've gotten any trucks, have they?
No.
Yes, they have.
I'm just gonna say no, just because.
Sure they did. They are. The problem is you have companies like Swift or BRST or US Express. You know, you have these giant companies like Snyder or whoever, who like when they'll take any load, they just don't care. Like they don't even care if they're going to make money on it, and they don't care about the driver. Like they've been puppy milling drivers for years, right? Like there was a point where, like, when I graduated out of the Swift Academy or whatever it was, I had 2 hours behind the wheel total when I got my CDL. Right? They don't care about the drivers. They don't care about their trucks. They don't care about the freight. Right? They're just in it for the money. Like they don't care at all. And like they'll send people in to go deliver, and they'll hire them. Like they hire immigrants to go do it. You know what I mean? Because immigrants don't know no better. You know what I mean? They'll hire people that don't speak no English to do it. They don't care legit at all. They don't give a shit. You know, and that's kind of what everybody's fighting against. That's what like the owner operators are fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like right now I'm sitting here in Boston at the moment, right? I got to wait all weekend to go back into Boston to go deliver a load, right? Because they close down at 2:00 on a Friday, right? And so like I didn't get a chance to drop this load off, and I got to sit and wait until Monday, and I'm not getting paid all weekend just sitting here.
Right.
That's how they do you. The truck companies don't care. They don't give a shit about the drivers. They don't care about the freight. They don't care about your safety. They literally don't. You have to make them care, right? Like you have to call the government and tell on your company when they try to force you to drive when you're not feeling well or when you're tired, right? Like, because you know, I mean, your company isn't going to look out for you. They're just about making money, and that's all they care about.
So they claim that truck drivers are Red Bull and Monster addicts. They claim I'm saying that because I know I am a Monster addict. It's like, no, let me stop. But they definitely do claim that you guys are definitely overexhausted, and that you guys are put at extreme amounts of stress as far as most jobs are concerned. You drive long hours. And the pay is basically not worth it, is what we are told. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
Especially based on what's going right now. Like what's going right now.
Yeah, like as I said, like, and this is part of the problem, right? Legit is that not only did we offshore, but we also onshore jobs, right? Like we took the jobs out of like Detroit and put them in like Kentucky, or we'll put them in Mississippi, right? Where they can pay the guys a quarter of the wage where they used to pay them. And then they bring in, you know, I mean, all like a butt ton of immigrants from Central America or whatever. And like they drive down the wages, you know what I'm saying, of like American workers. Like, cause when you start affecting carpenters' wages and drywallers' wages and roofers'
That's
wages.
exactly what I was talking about. People who come from the mud, from the dirt, they all do this, but they happen to come from somewhere else. but they know the knowledge and they know they got the skills. They just may not have the hands-on certification of carpentry, but they know how to they know how to work wood. The hands-on certifications. So I like your perspective. Keep going.
Right. So as you stand here and you start looking at like these individuals who are out here working for like much lower than the regular wage of what an American would ask, what I mean, for the wages, like you end up driving people out of work. And so like they keep looking for more and more and more work, like whatever the case, whatever you can do, and it ends up start climbing up the food chain to the point where like us drivers, like they have drivers legit. Like I've been looking, for like a local job or whatever the case might be. They have full-time driving positions for $35,000 a year, right? And to stand here and think like every day you risk your life driving, sitting behind the wheel of a vehicle that weighs 80,000 pounds, going down the road, and you are not only responsible for just the vehicle, you're also responsible for the weights, the measures, you know what I'm saying, keeping track of hours, all the nonsense that goes with it. And if you get pulled over and you're overweight, you get the fine, not the company, right? And you're making 35K a year to do this when your dad, you know what I'm saying? Like your dad's generation, like my family's not truck drivers. Like I was heavy industrial before this. My parents were, my dad's an HVAC guy and his dad was a general contractor. My mom's side of the family, they're all heavy industrial guys and they came from coal miners in West Virginia. When they came over from Italy.
Yep, send you to the mines, boy.
Yeah, man, again, like this is why I'm starting the white trash no state, right? So, like, when you stand here and you look at this and you go, all right, well, like my parents were making the same wages that I'm making now, as like 20 or 30 years ago. You go, man, listen, there's something wrong with this system. You know what I mean? Like, how are the wages not going up? Like, how am I not making more money? Like, how is it when I make more money, like I'm not doing better than my parents were? When the average cost of a home back in 1995 was $150,000, and today the average price of a new home is $396,000. There's an issue with the system, right? There's a giant problem. And we keep bringing in more people and driving up the cost of housing and driving up the cost of, regular living, but we're not driving up, the prices of labor. Like this is a problem that you're going to have to contend with, and especially when you get into these deindustrialized areas, as I said, like Detroit and Camden, like the whole way, like anywhere from like the Midwest over to the East Coast, the whole way across, like all of it, that whole span, Buffalo, Syracuse, Erie, Baltimore, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, all of it. You're going to have to deal with all these people who live here, and not all of them can just go, oh, we're going to move somewhere else. Like, where are you going to go? Okay. And I hear people say that all the time, like, oh, just move. What, you're going to tell like 50, 60, 80 million people to move and then drive down the wages that they're going to the places where they're going to, because now there's twice as many people there competing for the jobs.
So
like go ahead.
I got a hypothesis now, based on a majority argument and a majority perspective I got on entrepreneurs in Maryland and DC, both combined. Both highest entrepreneurship and what do you call it? Property owners and property owners and real estate owners are Ethiopian, African. Then Nigerian. It goes down, and Nigerian. Then it goes down. Then it goes down. So let's follow the slope. Okay. Nigerians, real estate owners from Africa, they brought their knowledge over here. I already talked to Nigerian. He told me exactly how it works. They buy off the plot first. They spend money off plots before they spend money on land. In Nigeria and in America, it works the exact same way. You buy the plot. If you have the material to build your home or to build the building, you don't pay the government anything. If you build a house off of the land that you built that you bought plots on, you're not gonna have to pay anything except for property tax. You won't have to pay. And forget rent, forget everything else, forget water. You don't pay none of that, and that's even in America. I have no knowledge of this until I spoke to a Nigerian and asked him, number one, why do you come over here and then take your money back to your country? Because it's a cultural thing. They teach them this. They teach them entrepreneurship culturally, generational wealth. That's another thing blacks need to get in their system. Generational wealth. You won't be complaining about what you can't do if your dad owned five properties and two businesses, and he can help you out. You just got to figure out at least one. He already got a business for you. You got plenty of properties. You have to actually know the diaspora in which you want to work if you want to be an entrepreneur. I think the one thing that this country is lacking is the heartfeltship on being an entrepreneur. It's being downplayed on. It's being basically some people are trying to call being an entrepreneur lame, based on the premise that now they're trying to burn down these businesses. So if I do build a business in any of these cities, the hell with it is going to be burned down with the establishment. So what is the point of me even trying to become an entrepreneur, let alone use Trump's cheerful any of these bills, opportunity zone for small business owners to take advantage of low costs on taxes that they will have to pay, and that you will be privileged in this diaspora in the inner cities and suburban environments, for you to open your small business, pay less, have to pay less in the end also in taxes, and still flourish. I'm feeling as though if we give as blacks, me being black, are given an opportunity of not having to have an excuse, they find a way to have an excuse anyway. Even if you have no excuses, you have opportunity zones specifically built for you, specifically built for the inner city environments and suburban environments in which there's always going to be competition. The competition is always on. So
well, that's kind of part of it, right? But like on the same point, we have to have economic education for children, right?
You're right. I took that class when I was in high school, so I guess my mentality is a little bit different. So
why don't we ask the teacher about that?
The economical, the
Autumn.
teacher economics. Autumn. Autumn, are you here or are you just gone for the night?
Nice try. I'm still here.
All right.
So economics, you want me to comment on economics?
we need
economics education.
Please.
Well, I just honestly, the kids aren't really taught to. I don't think that the education system, the way it's the current model, I don't think it's sustainable, and the kids don't really know how to think, and they don't. They just kind of show. It's more. They just kind of show up and expect. They just get, what are you giving me for this paper that I'm handing in right now? My background is music education, K through 12, instrumental, and I kids are just not really. I find that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they need to have. I think they don't have life skills. They don't really teach. They don't teach the credit system. They don't teach. You know. They don't teach. They don't teach economics. Most kids don't really. They don't really. They just think that money just kind of literally. I think they think it grows on trees. I'm amazed. I think some of these college kids think that too. You know, I think they just. Oh well, we could just get the government. Well, you know, the government could just pay for everything and free college for everybody. Free this for everybody.
That's what they teach them. Like that's
exactly
that's modern. That's modern monetary theory. Hey, I want to add, like you're a teacher. I want to ask you some stuff, right? Because like I got some theories about education, right? Like
I was a
if
teacher also. I just had to throw that out there.
I got
I can throw a few points, but go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So like I'm big into like economics on my channel, right? I have a channel that's pretty much all I really do is economics.
Nice.
Like, because
Nice.
math
Not
doesn't
economics and shit talking.
My guy.
Yeah, like yo, it's free speech. You know what I mean? It's free speech. But that, like, all right, yo, it's free speech, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you can come on my channel, say whatever you want. You know what I mean? Because it's important that you have a dialogue. But all right, one of the big things that I have is I have a graph of the United States federal spending every year, right? And you know how, like, I have the GSA numbers, and you go through and you'd be amazed like how like Americans, like if I ask you what's the number one spending item in the budget, what do you think it is?
This is for everybody.
Yeah, everybody. What do you think? What do you think the number like give me like a top 3 spending items in America right now?
Fine. I'll just lay it out for you. Number 1 will probably be what? Environment, which is bull. I'm just basing that off of the city of DC, because we keep having these gas leakages every single year. But environment is one, because we have an old ass city. It's definitely not gonna be economic. It's definitely not gonna be education. I know, because
you don't.
The principal that I had was just fired last year.
You don't. You legitimate. If you don't think education's in the top 3, you're wrong.
I do think I do. It really is. I would imagine it is.
Wow.
All right. So here's the spending. Here's the spending.
Curriculums when I was a teacher.
It's $1.6 trillion we spend on Social Security, $1.5 trillion on Medicare, $1.2 trillion on education, and $1 trillion on defense.
And we don't see none of it, because I had to literally, I'll put it this way.
All right.
I had to buy a curriculum.
So here's my theory on education, right? I legitimately think we can do a better job if we close down all the schools, sell all the property, hand every kid a laptop, and then like have like all the teachers in like the middle of the country somewhere, and like it's all just online curriculums. And we get rid of like schools in general.
I don't disagree with you, for only the premise of me being in school and remembering how school was for the specific time from now to back then, based on the institutionalized internet schooling system being already implemented for children that had specific disabilities. One of my disabilities was reading. So I had a brain injury when I was young. I literally had my skull smashed in when I was less than a year old. So I had a reading handicap, and I had to try 5 times harder than students that didn't have a brain injury to read standard English. So I put it this way: after me trying 5 times harder, I accomplished my handicap, right? But that didn't matter because the school curriculum that was set in place was based on a technological advance. So the technological advance based on tutoring situations was based on, okay, after school, we can have teachers. I had this when I was a kid. We can have teachers verbally contact you while you're on the computer doing your test. Verbally contact you and coach you through your stuff. But the only disparity with that was based on the modern day platform. If you're they called my situation was what do you call it, individual. It literally had a real brain injury. They combined that specific situation with all kids of my color. So all kids of my color have to combine themselves with the same handicap as me. My brain was coming out of the top of my head, for goodness sake. So all blacks had to succumb to basically a dumbing down on. Put it this way, they in my eyes, I honestly thought they wanted to take books out of curriculum, and that scared the shit out of me because I loved books at the end of the day, even if I couldn't read them the best. I honestly, you can't. I love books. I'm sorry, and I may not be the best reader or best in English. But god dang it, if you get rid of if you get rid of a diaspora of learning based on if you think it's English or not, and that's nonsense. Yeah, if you understand where I'm coming from. And they're saying right now, within the past 2 weeks of today, that speaking correct English is a form of racism, which is the I don't know where to come with this because I congratulate the teacher that criticized me and made me better on. He had a 500 word to 1,000 word summary or essay in which if you made one grammatical error had to start over. He made me, what do you call it, he helped me work hard. He helped me master English or writing, whatever you want to call it. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have thought that I could even do it. I didn't even think I could even do that. Literally, everybody before me told me because of my situation and my brain injury that I couldn't do it. It's just out of my realm of possibility. It's not thinkable. Don't even worry. You can't do it. You'll just get a trade. Don't even worry about it. He came along. I was able to do a 1,000-page essay, a 1,000-word essay, 1,000-word summary of a specific subject, and master it, A+ it. If it wasn't for him, my cap of what I can do wouldn't be so high as it is now, being a conservative and me believing that I can do anything I can do. If it wasn't for that one specific individual in my life as a teacher, and he was a musician. A musician taught me. A musical teacher taught me. If you keep making mistakes later on in life, if you master your mistakes, nobody can correct you. I didn't even understand what he meant by that until it took a learnt pattern. And I thank him for that. I thank you for that. I'm saying this on this platform. I thank you for that because you made me a better person. Now I believe that I can do anything in life. Before you, people were telling me that I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that based on the circumstances. Without him, I don't know what I would do as of this day. Let you proceed.
Hell yeah. So what about the music teacher?
The
You're
music
on.
teacher.
You're on.
Yeah.
What do you want to know about music?
Well, not. Well, all right. Well, believe it or not, I
Whatever you
played
what do you want to know?
Well, like I played 3 instruments when I was in school and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, I was in a jazz band and excelled in music. But
Did you play the meat whistle?
but I'm saying, I played trumpet, tuba,
Me
and
too.
baritone when I was a kid.
All the blow instruments, huh?
I played
All
trumpet
the,
and keyboard.
all the brass, man, all the brass instruments, and cornet if need be. Right.
Okay,
But anyway, right. I was wondering like what she thinks about like actually cutting out a massive amount of the educational budget, right? By just handing kids laptops and sending them home and
Lord.
for Wi-Fi. I think it'd be way easier than what we're doing right now.
I do. I mean, I don't know if it's. I don't know. I've never really been into. I'm not, like this. I do think that they could be in a different space. Of course, I don't think that the school actually makes the actual learning the learning environment that that it's all about the school. You need a nice school, of course, but a decent school. But they could probably cut some things, but I just think it's just the way that things are being taught. The structure of the school day and all that stuff. I think that's problematic. I think that I'm of the school that I think that the traditional school day has been too long. I was going to say, as a teacher myself, by the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are, I'm also into finding out going into juvenile facilities and doing performances for kids to find out if they have less fights during the day because they've had, some break away from being, cooped up with each other all day long. But I also noticed when I was teaching public school, that the kids would get into fights. And I think it's because, they're cooped up all day long. It's 7 hours, 8 hours a day. And then, they're ready they're going to fight because, I don't think anybody is actively, I don't know how the brain works. I don't profess to know how the brain works, but I don't know if anybody is actively engaged in learning for 7, 8 hours a day. I don't believe that.
I can speak on this one. The school that I graduated from actually purposely implemented something called Panther Power Hour, in which they knew that it was an alternative school. Beyond that, they knew that if we dedicate an hour to problem students, as the state calls them, because they're here because this is an alternative school, that at least the least thing we can do is teach them something or give them some kind of break, knowing that the schools that they were in public schools, they were fighting in general, period, all the time, no matter what is period. It didn't even matter. Everybody hated these kids. So what they did was they gave the kids a safe space. 1 hour after lunch, lunch is 45 minutes long. 1 hour after lunch for you to wind down. You can also use this this is my graduation high school that allowed this to happen. Alternative school, vocational school, because they had trades also. That they would say, okay, well, if you can use this hour to go back and learn a trade. You can use this hour to do your homework. You can use this hour to catch up on anything that you were lacking in your last school credits. Anything. Panther Power Hour. This is your hour as individuals to capitalize on anything that you feel is lacking. And if you think nothing is lacking, take your butt to the goddamn gym and play basketball. But that's on you. Go outside and play football. That's on
All
you.
right, so here's the mentality, right? All right, so as teenagers, it's something like 25% of all teenagers end up having their circadian rhythm get broken to the point where like they end up being awake at night rather than the daytime. So like being in school in the daytime is a lost cause for
Oh yeah.
like
That's
like
binary thing. That's a
like
binary.
at minimum a quarter of the population. Add to that, our school system today produces 17% of kids are completely illiterate. Right. And
Dang.
yeah, that's a lot of kids
Dang.
coming out of our school system who
I can't
can't
believe
read.
that. Yeah. Dang.
Yeah. I mean, like this is what I'm saying. Our school system is completely broken. Like completely and utterly broken to a point where I don't think it can be reformed. And I don't think that and not only that, I don't think like the school year is even proper to begin with. Like I think the school year should start in probably like January or maybe like February or March, something like that.
January, February, right.
Yeah, and then run until like maybe October. Right. And that way, like the kids can have off when the time when number one, all the bad flu seasons coming through. You know what I mean? You don't have like, you know what I mean,
That's
the
smart.
schools being giant germ factories. And on top of that, like all the kids will end up standing here having like their grandparents and parents and everybody getting together for the holidays. So like, you know what I mean, during the holidays, like you know what I mean, like the grandparents or whatever can just you know what I mean, take care of the kids.
Right.
And they can be off when it's wintertime when they're naturally inside anyway, and they don't require massive amounts of supervision. So the parents don't have to deal with, you know what I mean, what are they gonna do with their kids for 3 months when they have to work and the kids should be outside playing and doing whatever.
Right. You're already gonna have the family together anyway. So you might as well implement it.
People are still going to want their summer vacations, though. People are still going to want their summer vacations, though. So I don't think this is going to work.
I'll be right back, guys. I got to go to the door.
No problem.
Some pizza?
But like,
not quite. It's worse. It's Applebee's.
Oh.
Wow. We got an Uber Eats.
It's the DoorDash.
We got a DoorDash. We got a DoorDash.
And me got a DoorDash.
We got a DoorDash.
California girl.
I'm sorry.
Hey, guys. I'll be right back, guys.
I appreciate it. It's okay.
Well, like, wouldn't it make more sense to like take like a winter vacation and go from like where it's cold outside to where it's warm?
Do they do that in other countries?
You know, I think the school year is just fine. What's annoying me about what annoys me about the school year is that a lot of people are trying to push for an all year round school year, and I don't think that works out very well.
That's an Asian perspective. Asia does that, and they've been doing that for 20 years.
I think that's a good way of doing things personally. You know what I mean? If you're going to do it if you're going to do anything, like you should do that. But like my idea is better.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Yeah, the school system's broke.
It is broke.
We're not going to fix it by shifting the school year.
Well, no, you can, right? Because like, all right,
the reason why they say
you fix it by dismantling the Federal Board of Education.
That
doesn't help.
The reason why that doesn't help, I know because I was a school teacher, but it is because they won't hire people who are more qualified based on the fact that the board hires you instead of the actual school. That's the big difference when it comes to hiring teachers, substitute or not. I was classified as a substitute teacher, but I was acting as a teacher because the last teacher quit because the children literally ran the teacher. He quit. She quit. My bad. She quit. The kids ran the teacher out. Literally, they pranked her out. They started doing pranks. She just. We all know how kids are. We were kids. I was able to withstand that.
Well, here's my issue, right? Like, here's the big issue with what like Wesley's saying, right? Like the Federal Board of Education isn't the problem. The problem is the local fucking school board basically being able to rape the taxpayers at will.
You're right.
Whenever they want to.
You're right. And the worst part about it was, say, this is what I did. Okay, I let me tell you my group of school kids, because I like to tell you that information. Okay, I had 7th to 8th grade kids. They're called 12 to 14-year-old kids. Their curriculum had they told me once I was 5 that they were basically bought. You had to buy their curriculum for the whole year before you even started. You buy curriculum. Curriculums are not what you think kids should learn. Throw that in the trash. It's garbage. Your curriculum is what the state gives you. They sell it to you. Literally, you buy it. It's a stack of papers.
On top of your taxes.
And on top of your taxes, it's a stack of papers. It's sectioned out based on periods of time from the beginning of your school year to the end of your school year.
Even that's a scam. That's a scam.
Yep.
Because if you have,
of course,
if you have 30 chapters and you only get through 25, why do you have an additional 5 chapters?
Because you have to smash them all in. Yeah, I was getting there. Because you got to smash them. Because you got to smash them all in. So now they force you to smash them all in, and if your kids don't absorb them, then the teacher was the issue. Even if you gave them a creative way of learning it.
Well, again, this is why like the online thing would be way better, like 100% better, because the kids could each go at their own pace how they needed to go.
But certain, I'm trying to base this on how I was learning. You're right, but I only learned better when the teacher verbally said, basically, A plus B equals C, because it wasn't because.
You'll have that.
It wasn't because what they say in the classroom environment. What they say was, okay, A plus B equals C. During the first hour of learning, A plus B equals C because of this calculation. A plus B equals C is basically going to be your model, but the end result is based on they're already telling you the answers, and by the time they want you to figure the answer out. Period. You have no intervention. There's no questions. No question. You figure out the answer. We'll give you A plus B equals C. This is the answer at the end of C. This is the C. And the teacher will tell you why you're wrong at the end. After you give your answer, and your answer has to be right or wrong. If it's wrong, you're still wrong. But they don't get to explain it until the end, and then the lesson starts. That's how I grew up. And that's what I didn't like.
Well, like here's the thing, right? Like you'll have all the same ways of learning. Like the teacher will be on the screen, like guiding you through the lesson, right?
Okay.
And then on top of that, you can take notes and write it down if that's the best way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Plus, on top of that, they'll have like the actual, visualization of the numbers. Like they will have all the same cues that you can have in a school, but you don't have the overhead of a school. Right? Like there's no electricity bill, there's no building bill, right? There's no like all this stuff is gone. And here's the cool thing: you eliminate old people getting thrown out of houses that they paid for and paid off 20 years ago, right? Because of the fact that they don't have the money to pay for the property taxes to pay for the school.
Got you. Okay.
That's 100%.
Retired people shouldn't have to pay property taxes.
They should, because they own property, right? And like, here's the thing, you could eliminate it if you eliminate the school, right? Because that's the only reason for property taxes.
Property taxes shouldn't exist.
Okay, but then how do you fund your local government and keep your schools?
The reason why
half the government.
the reason why property taxes, I'm gonna chime in on this specifically for this reason, because I believe in real estate. The reason why property taxes shouldn't exist is because if I buy the land in the plot and I buy the materials to put my building there, I should never in life have to pay a establishment for me existing there because I built my building. That's bogus. I built my building off my strength and will. That has nothing to do with you as a government, as a government organization, whatever you want to call it.
I agree, right? I agree.
That's where I come with.
I agree, but like here's the problem though, right? Here's the problem that you run into. So like, all right, either you have the state take over your local duties, right, or the Fed take over the local and the state duties, the local and the state duties, because somebody has to pay for it. Is the issue? Someone got to pay for the police. Someone got to pay for like your local water department, your trash.
Now I'm agreeing with you. If the police have to come to your house because something happened, this is making sense in which you have to pay property tax. You're paying for the benefits of your property, the protection. Now I'm agreeing with you. Now
right?
That's what you're paying for.
I mean, this is the problem.
I get
right.
it.
This is the problem. Like, so, like, should you tie it to property or should you tie it to your life? Right? Like, because I think it should be tied to your life.
Right.
Right. Rather than it be tied to your property. Like, so, like, say if you don't pay your taxes, you go to jail instead of you losing your home. Like, so no matter what, you still have your home.
Right.
I think that's a better way of doing it. Me personally, you know what I mean? Like, but. I don't want to lose the protection of my local government, right? Because I like having a local government that isn't beholden to state rules. Like my local jurisdiction don't have any police, right? And I like that, I mean, because I don't want police. And
all right, it's almost 2 a.m. here, and my coffee's wearing off. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. this morning or yesterday morning, whichever morning you want to talk about. So I need to go.
All right. Well, my boy is going. Appreciate you.
Always happy to see you, man. Been a while.
It's about 1:40 in the morning. We had a good intellectual conversation. Didn't talk at each other. We talked with each other.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. So, with that being said, sayonara, my brother.
Good night.
Catch you on the flip side. But that's one down. But go ahead.
I'm still rocking. So like, I like having my local jurisdiction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I like having the local there, you know what I'm saying, in between me and the state. Like, because the local jurisdiction has, you know what I mean, like makes less rules than the fucking state enforces. You know what I'm saying? So, and there's no police here, so I don't have to worry about like, being harassed by like, my local jurisdiction as far as police are concerned. So I don't mind funding, you know what I'm saying? Like, like they're, the ambulance crew and the fire crew and all the stuff that comes with that. But you have to have a better way of doing it than taking somebody's home if they don't have any money.
Right. So speaking of which, with that being said, definitely this is a long broadcast. It's blocking the bomb 3 hours.
I'm gonna have to get out of here now, DJ.
Saying no, I'm already shutting it down right now. So,
thanks so much.
I appreciate all the guests that were here. Now, you definitely stayed way past your time. You went from 25 minutes to about 3 hours. So I appreciate you.
Yes.
So I appreciate you. I'll definitely keep you posted on the next information updates, subject titles, and all these things.
All right, DJ. Thanks so much.
All right. As of now, tuning out. Appreciate everyone.
Bye-bye.
Peace.